Of course, the recent heat wave has been good for some businesses, hasn't it? I mean, in the holiday business, if you're in the tourist trade in the UK, and certain products like ice cream, for example.
Yes, indeed. And Ben is at an ice cream factory. He gets some really plum jobs, doesn't he? Although you do look rather interesting in your outfit this morning. Morning.
Can we just get this out of the way once and for all this morning? It's always the worst email that you get, isn't it, when it's a hairnet situation. Peter, the producer, emailed me last night. But anyway, we're here, and we're here because we're talking about ice cream. The businesses that have done well from that really good weather over the summer. Take a look at this. This is the ice cream mix down here in Chester this morning. This is the base mix. It's waiting to have the flavour added to it. In there, maybe about 800 tubs of ice cream. And they've had a pretty busy start to the year, planning to make sure they've got all the stuff in the right place at the right time, and they've got enough of this to meet the demand. Well, Jonathan's with me. He's the boss. Jonathan, morning. Just talk me through how important this summer's been for you in terms of sales. Because, look, something like this, ice cream, we buy more of it when the weather's good.
We do, absolutely, yeah. And it's been... from the start of May, really, when the heat wave started, it's made all the difference from a very poor start, really, in Easter, where we had a real struggle. And it's really, we've been chasing our tail slightly to get through that, but it's really helped, yeah.
How important is it, and how much are you able to win back that? Because we're talking about that cold weather, that beast from the east, that really hits sales for everybody, particularly the high street, and you guys too. Can you win that custom back by having a good summer?
Well, we've always said you never get back a bad Easter, which is one of our busiest times of the year, but we really have. With the sustained good weather that we've experienced, it really has. It's helped enormously, and clearly when the sun shines, we're going to sell ice cream. So,
you sell to mainly trade, don't you? Things like hotels and restaurants, and you sell a lot here too. But do you notice that people are simply back out buying, and they're willing to put their hand in the pocket when the weather's nice?
They do. I mean, we target them areas, really. Anywhere with high footfall, ice cream sells when families are on a day out. You know, it goes hand in hand. So that's where we target. That's where we know we can sell, good volumes of ice cream. So it needs the weather for that.
Okay, for now, thanks so much. We'll chat a bit later, but come with me because I want to show you around. That's the start of the process. And it comes through here. You might be able to see some of the machines here. This is where it all gets frozen. And this is where the ice cream ends up. Good morning. Some of the frozen ice cream there going into the tubs. Still done quite traditionally here, done by hand. These tubs get filled up and then sent out to the freezer through this way and then sold up and down the country. But that's ice cream. What about other businesses? Diane Wells with me. She's from the retail firm Springboard. Diane, morning. Look, we heard there about ice cream doing very well. Fashion is also one we talk a lot about, don't we, when the weather's good. Just give me a sort of an overview of how the weather's been and whether retailers have won back the trade that they lost because of the cold weather.
Well, I mean, footfall, that's the volume of activity in our retail destinations. So numbers of people going out to shop in bricks and mortar stores is about on par with last year, a little bit below. But what we have seen is that there has been an uplift in our high streets after 5 o'clock in the evening. So people are definitely going out there enjoying the sunny weather and the late nights and making sure that they're having good experiences. Fashion as a whole hasn't done particularly better than last year, and actually sales are down on last year in fashion, and we've seen a lot of the results that have come through recently around fashion and department store sales, and that's absolutely true. They haven't really made up from last year. So whilst footfall is good in high streets, in shopping centres it's not so good because people don't want to stay indoors. So it's been okay, but it's not been amazing, and certainly hasn't really made up for the poor winter we had.
It's notoriously difficult to get this sort of thing right, though, isn't it? Especially things like fashion, because they've got to put the order in at the start of the year. They've got to make a sort of educated guess about who's going to buy what and hope that the weather holds up so we buy it. But that's changing because we're so used to just being able to buy what we want online when we want it.
Absolutely. I mean, years gone by, they still carried through that same formula, buying a couple of seasons ahead, putting it in store. We used to go into stores late summer, like now, and find autumn stuff. And we used to put up with that. But of course, we don't have to do that anymore. With online businesses that have that greater flexibility, we don't have to put up with buying ahead. And we don't. We're much more immediate as consumers. So retailers really need to catch up with that. And it is difficult for bricks and mortar retailers to do that, because clearly if you put stock in a store and then the weather changes, you've got to destock the store, and that's a logistical issue for retailers. So it's a real challenge.
So some of the winners there we've talked about, are there any losers when the weather is so unpredictable like this? Who stands to potentially not cash in?
Well, I mean, it's been really interesting actually, because some of the garden centres have said that actually people have stopped buying plants because they're so worried that they're going to die in the hot weather. So there's always some weaknesses and some differences around the retail sector. And certainly retailers that are inflexible, insist on putting autumn stock out when it's baking, they're going to be the losers. And as we know, department stores are really struggling at the moment, and they're a really good example of how a business can be very inflexible, because they're huge monsters of businesses, and to change stock around in those businesses is a massive, massive task.
Okay, Diane, we'll talk more later, but for now, thanks very much. So it's kind of fitting that we're talking about fashion and what sells, because given that I'm wearing this rather fetching ensemble this morning, I don't think you'll find this in many high street stores anytime soon. I'll see you a little later after 7.
Ben, thank you very much. We'll catch up with you a little later on at the ice cream factory there.
He does look rather marvellous, doesn't he?
6:52.